Earthbound is a quirky Earthbound-inspired RPG. Wait a minute. It's no secret these days that there's a lot of games, as well as other entertainment media, that try to have witty and memorable writing with off-the-wall moments thrown in, be it your Undertales, Amoris, or some other good games with horrendous fan bases. Many of these games got their inspiration from Earthbound, a game that bucked conventional RPG trends by being set in the modern day, and instead of fighting dragons and demons, you do battle with aliens, gangsters, and cryptids, where a lot of the locales and set pieces were based off famous myths like the Loch Ness Monster being in a lake, and also famous locations like Stonehenge, with myths being that it was a base used by alien invaders, all before capping off with a final battle against an incomprehensible cosmic horror almost 20 years before Bloodborne made it a cool thing to do. I never had a Super Nintendo growing up, and instead I got this game on the Nintendo eShop as part of the Virtual Console alongside Super Metroid, and while I stumbled my way around Super Metroid, I ultimately beat the game and genuinely enjoyed it. I didn't like Earthbound. Every early 2010s game YouTuber and their brother was talking about it, but I never really got the hype as you just spammed attack over and over again and bashed your head against the enemies that would kill you in 1v1s. And it was one of the first times I ever remember dropping a game and hating it out of spite, and I didn't pick it back up until years later for a specific reason. And looking back on it, I think Kid Me was onto something because the difficulty scaling in this game is so out of whack. I imagine a fair number of people never even got out of the first 10 of the game. Yep, we're talking about an entire level today, boys and girls. Get comfy. So, obligatory lead-up is obligatory. A meteorite crashes not too far away from our home, so we go up and down a hill multiple times talking to people until we eventually are able to interact with the meteorite and meet with a talking bug who tells us about our great destiny as a hero. I could make a drugs joke here, but honestly this is actually pretty in line with 90s cartoons and early 2000s cartoons as well if we count things like Ben 10. We make our way back down the hill and get jumped by the obligatory monster of the week. The Starman Jr. is a boss that's basically impossible to lose against. Really, you have to go out of your way to lose against this fight, so it's more of an event to see if Ness or Picky will be able to get the killing blow. And then after more dialogue, the long night of Onett will come to an end. Welcome to the hardest area in the game. No, I'm not kidding. The world looks so bright and colorful with nice cheery music, and you'll quickly realize, yeah, it's kind of a lie. Onett has been blockaded, and that's because there's some gang violence going on in town. Great! The sharks are the main enemies you need to take out, and it sure was a bold choice having enemies capable of not only summoning back up, but capable of killing you in 1 or 2 hits as your first proper opponents of the game. Great job, Nintendo. The enemies here hit entirely too hard, where you'll often need to heal after they've performed a powerful hit, but healing items like the cookie recover about 6 HP, and that's basically worthless, especially when the enemies are hitting for more than 20 HP, and little known fact about Earthbound, Ness isn't going to be outspeeding anything in this game. And yes, I get it, it's an old RPG, you need to grind a few levels, but my guy, this is the beginning of the game, this is the grinding fodder. The wild animals around here give 1 to 4 experience and still take multiple turns to beat up in most cases, so they're not that viable. Your best bet is to bash your head against a wall until you gain enough experience to at least learn Life Up Alpha. Oh boy, time for more cultural enrichment! Now, to be fair, there are a few things we can do to make life easier, and a lot of that's going to come down to exploring around Onett to get a lot of better items, because as it stands, our initial equipment ain't gonna cut it. You can go to the department store to find things like the cheap bracelet for a slight defense boost, and if you have the money you can get the T-ball bat for an attack boost, but other things you can find are hamburgers and trash cans, which is gross, but as far as the game's concerned, it's a strong healing item for this early in the game. Most importantly would be snagging the Mr. Baseball cap, which gives you +6 to your defense, which is the most you'll find for a good long while in this game. I'm not just talking Onett, it's going to be good even in the second major area of the game. However, while we're here, I've got to complain about something else, and that's the inventory. You have a very limited number of slots, and it's not just being taken up by healing and battle items, but also equipment and key items. And I'm okay with limited inventory space, but why is my equipment taking up space if I'm wearing the ball cap and the bracelet? Plus, the key items taking up space is also kind of annoying, and sure, with knowledge, you can deposit them into storage and only take them out when absolutely needed, but you're not going to know that. The ATM card is how you get money out of your bank accounts and buy items, since enemies don't drop money when defeated in this game. The Soundstone is a key item given to you as part of your destiny to save the world. And most importantly, a man without a map isn't popular with the girls! So even as early as Onett, the game becomes a matter of inventory shuffling, since half of it's being taken up by essentials while the other half is being flooded by useless crap like cookies. But still, the MO here is to fight, die, and respawn for a while till you can comfortably take out the sharks in 1 or 2 hits, because we've got to get ready for our boss fight. Frank is the first boss of the game, and on one hand he doesn't have a ton of health, but he can still be kind of a crapshoot, because if he chooses to brandish a knife, he can pretty easily just two-shot you, and there's not much you can do about it. Because Ness is slow as shit, and our stats aren't high enough to have scrolling HP be a factor in the game yet, which I'll talk a little bit more about later in the video. Otherwise, it's just a matter of bashing his head in and using Life Up Alpha when you drop below 30 HP, don't waste your time on Hypnosis, it's a beginner's trap, and pray that he doesn't get a smash attack on you when he's brandishing a knife, because if he does, you just die. But we're not done yet, because the game throws one of its only multi-phase boss battles at you right at the start. Seriously, I'm pretty sure there's only actually 3 in the entire game, and you now have to battle his mech, the Frankenstein Mark II. Thankfully, while it does hit fairly hard, averaging around 35 damage per hit, it only attacks every other turn, so while it's going to take a while, you can beat this boss with some patience, guarding on his attack turns, and a lucky smash attack or 2 will certainly help. Unrelated, but for some reason I always thought that the sharks were being, funded by the mayor. I don't think that's ever actually confirmed in the game, but I seem to remember that, which, I'm gonna date this video real quick. Anyone else see that report about the SPLC being the ones funding the KKK? That shit is wild. Anyways, yeah, this video was recorded a couple weeks in advance and it was scheduled out. I'm in the process of moving. That's why this stuff probably sounds dated at this point. And while we may be done dealing with the sharks, we're not done with the video, because we're now given a chance to head to the first Your Sanctuary location at the Titanic Step. Now, I'm not going to spend a super long time on this one, but the Giant Step is the first proper dungeon in the game, and all in all, it's not too bad once you've leveled up enough to unlock your first PSI attack, whether you call it rockin', rollin', gamin', boxin', larpin', whoever cares. I don't. The Antoids are pretty dangerous though, because they have a surprisingly high gut stat for the early game, meaning they can get smash attacks, which is just plain unfortunate when it happens, though thankfully your health is high enough that it shouldn't kill you, but also you don't just fight one Antoid and move on. You're usually going to have to deal with multiple in a single battle, and there's a couple of them throughout the dungeon you have to fight, so be careful. Then there's the Titanic Ant, the first Sanctuary boss of the game, and he's being flanked by 2 black Antoids which can heal him. My advice is to come here with at least 15 PP and shotgun your PSI attack turn 1 to get rid of them Antoids at least. Otherwise, it just becomes a matter of attacking when you can and healing when your health falls below 30, and if the Titanic Ant gets a smash attack on you at less than full health, that's really unfortunate because there's a good chance you're going to die. However, your health might just be high enough that your HP will scroll, and if you can get over to a healing item or life up quick enough, you could save yourself, though it's not too likely at this point. That's going to more so come up a little bit later in the game. It is pretty wild that the first Sanctuary boss of the game is also the second hardest in the game, but okay, I mean, that's just kind of par for the course at this point. I'd say the most notable thing about the boss fight is his music. Even if you know nothing about Earthbound, I guarantee you've heard this song before if you've been on the internet for any amount of time. But with him beaten, you'll finally have defeated your first Sanctuary boss and can be on your way to bigger and better things outside of Onett. Except no, you can't. I was lying to you.
It was all misinformation.
We have one last roadblock to overcome, and it's the people known for setting down roadblocks. So it might be the worst of them all, because now we have to prove ourselves against Captain Strong by beating his men. So we went from fighting the forces of chaos to fighting the forces of law. I'm sorry, I thought I was playing Earthbound, not Shin Megami Tensei. Anyways, this fight kinda sucks. You have to battle multiple enemies in a row before capping things off with a battle against Captain Strong. The cops can do one of two things: a weak attack that's insignificant, or he can perform a crushing chop on you that easily does more than 30 damage, and you have to manage resources throughout the entire fight. And I hope you don't waste good healing items, because if you get an unlucky smash attack, then you're done, and the item is gone for good. See, this is why we use restore points nowadays. God forbid a cop get a smash attack with a crushing chop that's taking over half your health right there. So don't chance it. If your health ever drops below 50, use life up or a hamburger to heal yourself, because we gotta fight through multiple waves of enemies, and I hope you have enough PP for it. Ideally, what you want to do is make sure you beat the 4th cop with at least 20 PP remaining, and preferably more than 70 HP to mitigate any possible shenanigans, though the shenanigans can still occur if you get really unlucky. And I say the 4th cop because thankfully the 5th one will choose just to not fight you, so you get cut a tiny bit of a break there, if only for comedic writing. Then we get to the fight with Captain Strong. It's kinda weird. He can buff his attack and do a lot of damage with his submission hold, but if you have more than 20 PP, you can just use 2 PSI attacks in a row and do over 200 damage to win the fight on turn 2. But if his grappling attack gets a smash on you, then you might just die right then and there. This boss fight isn't super quick, or isn't super long, but it's a shootout, essentially. But assuming you don't have that option, I would say your best bet is to instead make sure you have at least the T-ball bat and focus on bashing him while saving your PP for Life Up Alpha to heal you if you ever drop below 50 HP, because Captain Strong hits hard and is faster than you, but he is still very much a glass cannon. And when you finally beat him, praise the Lord, hallelujah, we can finally get out of Onett and head off to the rest of the game, where you'll proceed to have a much easier time with things. Now the question is, do I think Onett is the hardest part of the game? No, I consider it to be the second hardest part of the game. But it's the part where players are going to get sick of the game and drop it because of how early on it is, and no one wants to get walled before we even reach an hour into the game. Well, no, I would say the actual hardest part of the game is at the very end, which is, hilariously enough, still in Onett when the aliens invade once again. And that just about wraps it up for this video. I wasn't a huge fan of Earthbound when I first played the game back in 2015 or 2016, and pretty quickly dropped it after getting jumped by the sharks a few too many times. The only reason I ever went back and bothered giving it a second chance was Chugga Conroy's Let's Play of the game in 2018, since I didn't have a lot going on during summer vacation, and I decided to give it a second chance, and yeah, the game is a lot more fun after that, but good lord, the early hours are rough. But regardless, that's all I've got for this video. If you'd like to see more content of varying quality, consider liking and subscribing, hyping the video, and I'll see you all in the next episode when we tackle either a crappy water level or an auto-scrolling escort mission, whichever one I finish recording first.